Welcome. My name is Bob Stewart. I've got my friend Chad Hyams here with me while we get everything set up and let people kind of spill into the room here. Chad, how you doing today, buddy?
Bob, I couldn't be any better if you paid me to be better. Actually, maybe you could pay me for this stuff. But I could be better.
I was gonna say, dang, that sounds great. All right, we'll have to scrape together some funds to get Chad paid here. I'm gonna bring our slide deck up. So you guys are. I'll kind of let you in on what we're doing here. Chad and I we're gonna bring you some great content today. I hope anyway, or I think, and we're actually gonna use this for our podcast. And Ben and Chad and I have a podcast. If you're interested in it, you can text podcast to 59559. It's the Win, Make, Give podcast. And so we're gonna do this webinar with you guys. We're gonna take a section of this webinar and we're gonna use it in our podcast. So for a little while here in the beginning, we're gonna hold off on any questions. I'm not gonna talk about Brivity. A little bit later towards the end, I'll talk a little bit about Brivity, and there's, obviously a tool that we have in here that we think you guys during these times, but that you don't have it from Brivity, you can get it from anywhere. But I'm going to keep that out of kind of the meat of the talk today. So Chad, are you cool if we use this episode for our podcast, buddy?
I think that'd be tons of fun. Everybody can say I was there when.
All right. So with that being said, if you guys have a question, why don't you let's check in. Let's see who's joining us here today. So run over on that GoToWebinar control panel right now and find that questions area. And here's what I'd like you guys to do for me. Just like on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being like, man, I'm at the top of my game. I'm feeling great. Like, Corona, what? Give me a 10. If you're like at the other end, 1 or 2, and you're down there just like, I might not ever leave my house again. I'm like, where are you? BP's an 11. That's fantastic. I'll tell you what, Chad. So before we jumped on here, I was telling you, man, I've been a pretty solid 8 or 9 most of the time. I think yesterday, man, I might have dipped down to like a 6. It just set in for me a little bit. We're here in Washington State. Like, we've been going into our 4th week of, I don't know how many. I've probably seen my wife and kids and maybe a passerby walking past my house in the last, going on 4 weeks, right? So I was a 6 yesterday, man. I'm glad we're doing this today. Give me a little bit of energy to kind of point myself back in the right direction. Where's everybody else at here, Chad? While I'm looking through these.
Love it. Sharon's at 6 2/3. I like that, Sharon. 6 2/3. Not really sure. Yeah, and Bob, I sit here all day. My home office has a window to the front. I'm just counting how many people walk their dog. That's my interaction with human life right now. It's just watching how many people walk by with their dog. I think right now dogs are either the happiest they've ever been or want you to leave them alone. Like, you go get the leash, I think the dogs are starting to hide and say, I can't go for another walk. It's just crazy what's going on, Bob.
Before this, I would have lied to myself, Chad, and said, like, my wife's always like, you love doing these webinars and you get all jacked up for them. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I think in my real life, I'm more of an introvert. Like, that's a lie. Like, I need to talk to people. I don't need a bunch, but I need at least a small dose of people in my life beyond these webinars and, the fun ways we get to interact with people. But man, all right. So we've got a bunch of 8s here. That's awesome. So hopefully you guys come out of here as 9s, not 7s, right? But
we're going to help Brittany and Emma. I see some 4s and some 5s. We're going to help you guys have a plan by the time we're done today, so you don't drop below 7s. How about that? How about we can get everybody to just be at least a 7 or above for the rest of however long this takes?
All right. So as we go through here, this stuff we're talking about, guys, we're going to talk about surviving and thriving in uncertain times. And I've got my friend Chad here. And the first thing that we'd like to talk about is just focusing on what you can control. And, Ben has this control triangle that talks about our mindset and who we surround ourselves with, and then our money. There's certain things we control. But as we think about like our business, Chad, walk me through like just the few things that I have control over and kind of why some of these things are important for, just kind of keeping the right mindset.
Absolutely. Bob, Ben does a great job. You guys had a great conversation, actually all the way back in episode 2 of our podcast about his control triangle. And what we have to remember is we can't control everything. You can't control the coronavirus. You can control your impact upon it. You can control whether you're the one who's going around and coughing on people, you're the one who's going to the grocery store, you're the one who's not staying home. You can control those choices, yet you can't control everything. What we want you to realize is we've really kind of put it down to 4 things that you can control right now, and that's your daily activities. What are you going to do each and every day? What you choose to focus on, because you can focus on the negatives and you can focus on the positives. Bob, we've seen the numbers every single day. You can't turn the TV on and not see the numbers of what's going on right now. My question is, are you looking at the number of people that have the virus and people who have died from the virus, and they have my prayers and condolences to their families for what they've gone through? Are you looking at that number and saying, oh my God, it's getting so much higher? Or are you looking at it and saying, wait a minute, the percentage is actually dropping? Right, we're less than 1% up here at Washington State, even though they talk about it being such a huge outbreak, and we are blessed for that. What are you focusing on? Which side of that? Which then leads us to our mindset. Are we waking up every day and saying today is going to be awesome? Or are we saying, oh good, another day locked at home with my family, right? And then of course, the 4th one is that who do you surround yourself with? And right now we're really limited, or are we, when it comes to who we're surrounding ourselves with? Yet you can choose who that's going to be.
I go back to number 2, what you choose to focus on. I know early, because again, we've been going through this for a little while. Early, I was spending all day reading the news. Just, once an hour, I was in there just consuming. And at some point, it was probably about a week and a half ago, I just said to myself, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to be informed because that's important. And I have a kind of an inquisitive nature. So I've kind of limited myself. It's like I spend a little bit of time all at the same time each evening, right? Kind of bringing myself up to speed on what's going on. But I don't spend all day anymore. And so I think that's really helped my mindset.
I'll tell you what I do. I'm not reading anything about it anymore. I got to tell you, I am intentionally, and I'm not making any political statement here, I am intentionally watching the presidential briefing that happens every day. Why? 1, because they're entertaining. I mean, if you're not watching that and thinking it's stand-up comedy sometimes, you're not watching it with the right mindset. And then 2, we're getting enough information in that time from the people who are really bringing it to us. Dr. Fauci, going to be named Man of the Year for sure. You want to hear what this guy's saying. The challenge is, if you go on the internet, if you go on the news channels, you are totally having the prejudice that comes from it. You will find one article telling us the world's over. You will find one article telling us this is not an issue. You will find one article telling you should do this. One article you should do. Stop it. Figure out what you're going to focus on and then focus on it, because it's one of the few things we can control right now. And 95% of the things you worry about never come to reality. 95% of the things you truly worry about never actually happen. So stop worrying about them and just focus on the things that you can control.
Well, no, you have a favorite. You wanted to start with this one, and tell me why you think this is important. And look, I think the reality for you is this is important all the time, but it's extra important now, right, Chad?
Absolutely, Bob. To me, I had an eye-opening opportunity a few years ago, which really changed my outlook on health. Right now, the thing they are actually telling us, if you're listening during what's going on in the world, and we have to be current to what's happening, social distancing is the number 1 thing that's helping right now. The number 2 thing that's helping is that you're in good health, because the healthier you are, the more likely you are to not contract or succumb to the conditions that the virus is creating, and you are less likely to have issues. The more people we can keep out of the hospitals, obviously, the better. The healthier you are, the quicker you can pass this through your system, the less of an impact it has on you. They're telling us that 25% of the people have it with no symptoms. Like, they don't even know they have it because they're healthy. As we're hearing what's happening out there, it's the people who are mostly having other health challenges that this is beating. Folks, you've got to make health your priority right now. And that starts with mental health. Before we even get into the physical health part of it, Bob, and the 3 key things I want everyone to focus on, it's mental health. Because when this thing is over and done with, it won't be how much did you do something during the time. It'll be, have you gone crazy? Right? That's the biggest battle we have right now. Mental health. Are you taking a vacation? What? Chad, we're not supposed to go anywhere. Cruise lines are closed. Airplanes, it's ridiculous to even think we're going to get on one of these. That's okay. A lot of the people who listen to the things that we talk about, Bob, when we share and when Ben shares and when we get together and we all get to share stuff, these are people that if I asked them what was on their nightstand to read, they would give me some sort of self-help book, some sort of growth and improvement book. Bob, if I asked you what's on your nightstand, you'd probably tell me that you're reading something that Ben said, hey guys, read this.
7 Powers of Questions.
There you go. That's what's on your nightstand. If I asked everybody who was listening to tell me what they were reading right now, they're going to give me some self-help, some growth, some survival book. Go on vacation this weekend and read a mystery. Go get a Ian Fleming's James Bond books from way back when. Go get yourself the latest and greatest mystery or sci-fi or autobiography about somebody you want to learn about. Go on vacation, because we need the mental break that we're not giving ourselves as we're trapped where we are. So mental health is, to me, Bob, first and foremost. Yet when it comes down to health, what most people think is going to be these 3 things that people need to stay on top of. And number 1 is your exercise, right? I joked as we were getting this going, you and I were talking about it, that dogs right now are probably either the happiest in the world or they're hiding because people keep wanting to take them for walks. Folks, a walk is great, yet that's not exercise because you're probably not getting your heart rate up. The goal is every day you should be getting your heart rate elevated for 20 to 30 minutes minimum. That means get on a bike. That means go for a run. That means get a jump rope. That means play tag with your kids.
That's what I did. I busted out the jump rope, buddy. My jump rope hasn't been out in a while, by the way.
Most people haven't. Yet your kid probably has a jump rope. Go get their jump rope and jump rope with them. Do push-ups, do sit-ups. We saw Ben did some on Facebook the other day. He shared some push-ups. I did a burpee challenge that Spartan Racing was putting out the other day. Do stuff to get your heart rate up right now, because we have to stay healthy, and that means we have to have the exercise. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, how we put it on our calendar, because it's that important. Yet, Bob, exercise really matters, and too many people are just saying, well, I'm going to go for a walk around the block, and that's great. Yet your heart rate isn't elevating. We've got to keep moving. We've got to keep our heart pounding for 20 to 30 minutes a day, whatever that is for you, how you like to exercise.
Chad, if my walk around the block includes carrying or pulling my kids in the wagon and them screaming, "Daddy, run faster!"
Bob, that might qualify. You might be getting your heart rate up. You know, I don't have an Apple Watch anymore. I've gone through too many of them. I'm obviously too violent with them and they pop. Yet if you have an Apple Watch, they have the 3 rings, right? Everybody knows about them, whether you have one or you don't. If you have a Fitbit or a Garmin or something like that, it's not just the 10,000 steps we're looking for. It's that heart rate elevated. And yes, you might walk, it might be a hill. Maybe you're going for a hike and you're taking the dog for a hike up some steep hill. That's helping you. Okay, you're probably getting your heart rate elevated. You're just walking around the block and saying, hey, I got out today. That's not exercise. We want to get our heart rate elevated 20 to 30 minutes at least every day.
Baby steps, though. If you're not doing even that, get out and walk around the block, for goodness sake. All right.
I'll give you that, right, Bob? If you're sitting on your sofa and you haven't moved, yes, a walk around your block is even better. You used to drive to work. You used to walk from the car into the office and into the office back to the car. You're not even getting those steps anymore. So get moving.
So fluids, it's like my radiator fluid and my brake fluid and my
Absolutely. Things you need, but no, you don't need radiator fluid or brake fluid. Your car's not going anywhere for a while, right? Gas is as cheap as it can be and you're not using it. So fluids, meaning we've got to drink water. Too many of us are sitting home, we're drinking soda. Maybe we're drinking an adult beverage, right? Because we're sitting home and we're saying, well, I don't have to drive anywhere and I can't deal with my kids anymore, right? So I'm having an extra glass of this or that. Folks, you're supposed to have half your body weight in ounces of water every day. Now, Bob, a lot of people are like, whoa, that's a lot of water I got to get drinking. Right? I'm in that 180-pound area. So to me, that's 90 ounces of water every day. 90 ounces of water. Now, Bob, I've got in front of me right now, I got one of those bottles of water, the typical bottle of water. It's 16.9 ounces. Well, I know if I just drink 2 of these, that's 30. I drink 2 more, it's 60. I drink 2 more, it's 90. Easy math for me. I just have to drink 6 of these. Now, Bob, I'm awake 12 hours over the course of the day at least. So if I drink just half a bottle of water every hour, I'm getting my required water intake. That's not difficult to do. I'm not asking anyone to sit there and chug a gallon of water. Yet if you just realized at the top of every hour, you set an alarm that went off and you drank half a bottle of water at the top of every hour, you would drink over 90 ounces of water every single day. It's simple. We need it to flush our system, help move things through our system, which helps keeps us healthier in this situation.
Water.
Beer doesn't count.
I'm probably halfway to my suggested water. I really thought about how much I'm drinking. I don't know.
You know, right. 1 less glass of iced tea for my friends in the South, 1 more glass of water. 1 less beer for those of us who are saying, I'm stuck, I'm having a beer. Just 1 less beer and 1 more glass of water. I'm not saying you can't have the adult beverage and you can't have the soda. Not a big fan of them. Yet, make sure you're getting the water intake to flush your system properly. And then, Bob, the third piece of health is going to be sleep. And right now, people are doing one of 2 things. They're either sleeping too much because they're just hiding from this, or they're not sleeping enough because they're nervous, they're stressed, or they're just figuring I can stay up as long as I want. And we'll talk more about that with the next section that we're going to get to. Yet the daily recommended amount of sleep is 8 hours. Now, I can tell you that's not normal for everybody. That's just an overall, it should be 8 hours. I know 7 hours for me is it. If I start to push past 7 hours of sleep, I'm actually overtired, if that makes sense. If I get under 7 hours of sleep, I can get cranky. I can go for a little while on it. I know Ben, he doesn't get probably more than 5 hours of sleep. That's just what's natural for him. Bob, what's natural for you when it comes to hours of sleep on a preferred day?
I'm 6.5 hours. As weird as that seems, that just I go to bed at a very similar time every night, and my boys wake up at the same time, and I've just kind of adjusted to 6.5 hours, and I'm good, right? Like if I go much like 8 hours is too much for me as well, Chad.
And that's the thing. And we want to make sure that everybody out there is getting the recommended amount of sleep for themselves. You know what that number is. This isn't the time to say, oh, I can sleep in. This isn't the time to say, hey, let's stay up all night long. This isn't summer vacation. This is life as we know it right now.
So we're doing this. We've got to focus on those things. We still got to work, right? We've got to deal with our family and our kids, and we believe a lot of this centers around this idea of controlling your calendar.
Yes, absolutely. You have to have one now more than ever. We used to have a calendar kind of thrust upon us by the world, if that makes sense. There was an acceptable wake-up time in the world. If you were still sleeping by a certain time, people looked at you funny. We had an acceptable bedtime in the world. If you were up after a certain hour, people were wondering what you were doing if you were actually, not just a college student or something like that. We had school for our kids, which forced us to have a sort of schedule. We had general office hours, depending on your business, where you were either expected to be in at a certain time or a certain time-ish, right? We had lunch at a certain time and meals at certain time. The world kind of gave us a calendar. And now that's all out the window. Especially with the way television works, we don't ever have to watch anything live anymore. Anything can be on demand, recorded, viewed later, whatever it is, that we have no schedule the way the world is right now, and we need one more than ever. Bob, this is not that free for all, right? Ben said it in a conversation I had with him the other day. He said, hey, we're not having a snow day, right? And Bob, on a snow day, you would be outside with your kids, making a snowman, making snow angels, probably having a snowball fight, all that kind of stuff. They would think it's tons of fun, and you would get nothing done all day. That's great on a one-off now and then. yet we are not in a snow day. They just extended the social distancing criteria till the end of April. We know that that means most likely through the month of April, we are still in this bubble. Certain areas of the country might change, certain things might change so they can help keep things moving, yet we're in this general bubble. This isn't a one day. Most of you, I'm sorry to say, if you have children, I pray for you because they're probably not going back to school this year. There's a reasonable chance you are not seeing school again until the first day of the next school year, which will be the biggest holiday of the year when every parent celebrates. Yet it's not a free-for-all. We have to have a calendar. We have to live by it. So Bob, let's give them, when I coach people, this is the order I've been telling people things go on their calendar. And number one is the bedtime. And people look at me like I have three heads when I say this. I'm a grown-up. I don't need a bedtime. You need a bedtime more than anybody as a grown-up, because we all know the 7 habits of effective people. Okay. Number 2 is we start with the end in mind. Number 2 is start with the end in mind. We've all heard it, whether we knew where it came from or we didn't. And the only way we can have a successful day, in my opinion, is we know when it's going to end. And that means we have to know when we're going to stop the day. We have to have our bedtime. And again, I don't care what it is. Bob, when do you go to sleep? You said you go to sleep around the same time-ish. When is that?
Midnight.
Okay. Now, Bob, you're on one end of the extreme, right? You go to bed late. I start getting ready to go to bed at 8 o'clock every night. And some people are like, what is wrong with that guy? Well, I'm up at 4.
Yeah,
so to me,
I'm
I'm getting up, I'm getting my day going. When do you get up?
6:30.
Right. You have more time in the evening to watch useless television and other recordings of things. I get up in the morning, get my workout, get my work done so that I have a head start on everybody else getting up in the day. Complete choice, no judgment, Bob. You choose what you want. So we've got that bedtime first and foremost. Now the bedtime leads to a wake up time. We talked about this already. You know you need 6.5 hours sleep. I get 7 hours of sleep. You can do the math. If you're going to bed too late, knowing, well, I need to be up by 7 for some reason, and I need 8 hours of sleep, I can't go to bed at midnight. No wonder I'm always tired. I have to adjust that bedtime. That's where the day always has to start. And we need these on our schedule right now to have some semblance of routine. The next thing that goes on our calendar is work time. Whatever industry you're in, you're still working. Hopefully, right? Hopefully you're still working, and you need to put work time on your calendar. And we'll get to a little bit more in detail about what that should look like. Yet it needs to go on your calendar, and you need to, quote unquote, I'm air quoting, Bob, while I actually say this, go to work, which we'll talk about. You need to go to work. And then you need to also go home from work. You need work time to know when you're going to be where. Your kids need school time, and it should be consistent. Kids like routine. So if you're having to do school with the kids, tell them when school starts each and every day. Are your kids doing homeschooling, Bob?
Yeah.
And do they have to be on Zoom with their teacher, or are you at a school where they just sent you home homework?
My younger ones are too young for that, but so they're at home, not at their Montessori. My 13-year-old Kellen, he's doing the whole Zoom deal. In fact, in Washington State, they had this mandate that by yesterday all of the schools would be online. So most schools here have moved online, minus some of the issues they've had in the last couple of days. But yeah.
Right. And my daughter, she's in college. They've just said your classes are all online. Take it at your own pace. So I have told her she needs to set a class schedule where she's still going to have consistency, that at 10 o'clock she's going to biology class. If she has the freedom, but have the routine where school time is going to be. Bob, I think everybody right now needs family time on their schedule. And that sounds silly because we can't get away from our families. What I mean, though, is we need to have memory time to create with our families. This is purposeful family time. When we flash forward 10 years and I ask your kids, what do they remember about the coronavirus time? My answer shouldn't be, we got to stay home from school and sleep in every day. I want to hear things like, oh my God, we did a 10,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. We made s'mores on the fire pit in the backyard. I learned how to blank, right? These are the opportunities to create amazing memories with your family. We should have purposeful family time on our schedule so we enjoy that time with our family. And you'll notice the next piece on my list here, Bob, is if we've done purposeful family time, we also therefore can earn alone time because we all need it. We need space. Now, for those of you with young kids, that might mean with a spouse, you trade off. Look, you get a half hour, just go. Go outside for a walk on your own, go sit in the bedroom, whatever you want, go. And if you have older people, hey, everyone pick a corner of the house and go away for an hour. Because we need that solo time as well to recharge. And then we've already talked about this. We need to make sure exercise time is on our calendar. We need to commit and put it on our calendar, Bob.
All right, so Chad, let's roll on then. So, you know, one of the things that, look, I mean, we kind of, I don't know, our worlds orbit around Ben in many ways, and so one of the things that I think he's done a really great job of is kind of bringing people together, and this idea that, like, even though I'm isolated in my home, I don't feel alone. So talk to me a little bit about this idea that, like, we're not alone, right? Like we have options of how to connect with people still.
We have tons of options, and we're going to give you 3 of what I think are the top options. Yet before we get to them, what about some of these other things we could be doing? And someone I was talking to the other day, they said the mothers in their cul-de-sac, after the kids went to bed, brought their chairs to one house and they put them on the 4 corners of the driveway. Like the 4 mothers sat on the 4 corners of the driveway. They couldn't trust the kids not to run around and touch each other, but they were social distancing and they had their wine all together. I was talking to someone else. She said, well, we had our neighbors over last night. They just sat on that side of the fire pit and we sat on this side of the fire pit. There's nothing that says you can't still interact with people. There's nothing that says you can't go through the drive-through window at Starbucks with a friend in the car behind you going through the drive-through window at Starbucks and pull up near each other like the police do all the time and roll down your windows and just have a coffee together. Remember, we're not supposed to be in contact with people that aren't our immediate family that we've probably already infected or gotten the germ from if somebody hasn't. That doesn't mean, though, that we can't be with other people. Now, that's in person. If we want to stay, nope, I'm not going outside my 4 walls. I'm staying away from everybody, Bob. Then we've got what I think are kind of the 3 top ways to do it. And the first one is Zoom, right? I mean, if anybody is walking away a winner from what's going on right now, it's Zoom. Because they stepped up immediately and said, it's free, enjoy. So that they could help with everybody with school and all of that stuff. And there's no reason you can't do a Zoom call. You see, the nice thing about a Zoom call is it's interactive. The nice thing about a Zoom call is everybody's talking. So you could get 3, 4, 5 people onto a Zoom call and you could do a night of having a beer with the boys. You could have wine night with the ladies. You could just have a get together. I've seen people having their birthday parties on Zoom where they're all getting together and singing happy birthday because the person can't have everybody come over, right? Hey, if it was back when I was in high school, and thank goodness this stuff didn't happen when we were in high school because we didn't have all of these things that are going on that makes it possible. Imagine how crazy we would have been. We would have been playing Dungeons and Dragons over Zoom, right? We would have done all that. There's no reason we can't use this to still engage and interact with people. And the nice thing about the Zoom call is everybody can talk. Everybody can engage. So
we've done a few of these where Ben's led some of the different groups that we're involved with, and you know, we did happy hour. We're doing one every Wednesday night at 4 o'clock. We all come together and we talk about the challenges we've had in that last week and what's happening in our business, and people are sharing ideas on ways they're doing things, and it's been a really, I think a lot of people walk out of that thing going, all right, like I'm not in this alone, right? Like I've got people that are in the same boat as me. Like there's just some like human emotion wrapped around that idea of understanding that I'm not in this alone.
Correct. And we want human touch. Human touch is a very powerful thing. I mean, it's one of our five senses, touch, right? We like to be able to shake someone's hand or pat them on the back or hug them if you're a hugger. And we can't do it over Zoom. Yet at least Zoom gives us that opportunity to know I'm not alone. It gives us the opportunity to have fun. It gives us the opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to have lunch today. Who wants to have lunch with me? And just make your own sandwich and open up a Zoom channel and have some fun. The Spartan group, the Spartan race, one of those groups I really like, the obstacle course team, they have a 24-hour Zoom channel happening right now that they have said there will always be people. So if you're ever going through a time where you just need some interaction, there's a Zoom channel open, and that's what everybody there has in common. So it gives you that place to just go and hang out and talk to people. So Zoom calls, take advantage of them right now. You can't get on a Zoom, or you're the kind of person who says, I don't really want to be trapped in front of my computer for it, or I don't want people seeing me. I want to be engaged with people. Yeah, Bob, I don't want them looking at me. Get your text threads going. You know there are 3 or 4 people that you always chit chat with. I want to say gossip, yet not in the bad way of gossip. They're the people that you're going to talk about what happened on the shows you watched last night, or that you're going to talk about what you binge watched, or you're going to talk about your kids together or whatever. Get text threads going. Get group text going. There's no better feeling right now than the sound of bing. Oh, I got a text message, right? Because you know someone in the outside world is connecting with you. So get some of those going. Send those crazy emoticons out there. Have some fun. Send messages to your friends. Strike up a conversation with someone you haven't talked to in a little while. Text threads are powerful, and giving that oomph to people when they're hearing that vibration or that bing sound come along their phone, that they know someone's out there looking for them. And then the third one is just like we're doing right now, Bob, which is webinars. There are webinars on 150 different things you could learn every single day. The only difference with a webinar, they're not as interactive as Zoom, right? Right now, people have to listen to a webinar. They have to listen to a podcast. You can still interact, yet not the same way as the Zoom, yet it's still a powerful thing. I would just tell you at this time, don't overdo it. There are people who are going to webinar after webinar after webinar, or podcast after podcast and they're just sitting there, and that's all they're doing all day long, and they're claiming they're getting something done, and they're just doing it to hide away from the family and claim they're doing something. So be strategic as you're scheduling these opportunities to learn as you're interacting with people, and as you're still doing the best you can to survive in this time.
All right, Chad. So let's roll over to talk about this idea of working from home. And look, some people that are listening to this may have never worked from home. Some people maybe work from home once a week, or I have a home office, but I mainly go to a real office. You and I are both people that have been, you've been a work from home person for how long now? Not that long, right? Like you were going to an office within the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, it's probably been the last 2 years I've full-time committed to being a home worker.
And I've been doing this for about 10 years, for about a decade now. I've been mostly working from home. I'm somebody that goes into the office. I go in once a week to our Brivity offices, but otherwise I work from home. And so for me, working from home is I'm right in my wheelhouse here, right?
Yep.
But I think, Chad, that there's this idea, like it'd be one thing if this was a week or two, right? And we were like, all right, I just have to make it through the next week or two. But the reality of this is it's at least a month at this point, and we don't know how long it's really gonna be, right? Like, and so my wife and I, through our entire 8-year history, and we've married and we've moved a couple times, and we had our first kid, and then we had our second kid. We've often talked about this idea of like finding a new normal, right? When Chase was born, we had to find our new normal and get into a routine with the baby. And then Carter was born, and it was another new normal. And so we've often talked about this idea of finding a new normal. But right now, I believe, because this isn't just, a week or two, it's at least a month, and it's probably going to be more. I think the reality is, if you're paying close attention, we have to find a new normal, right?
Yes. It's a season, right? Ben and I, we were having this conversation the other day, and I thought it was a really great statement when he made this one. He says, we have seasons. We have spring, summer, fall, winter. We have baseball season, football season. We have hunting season. I mean, we have tons of seasons. This is the season. We don't know how long this one's going to run. We know how long the other ones usually are. We don't know how long this season is, and we need to find normal during this season. We've always thought watching CNN, watching whatever new ESPN, whatever, where they're sitting at a desk talking to us, how many times do you wonder if they have pants on that match their suit? You know it, right? You're sitting there and you're saying, okay, they're wearing like sweatpants under that, right? You're like, I want to see you stand up for 1 minute just to prove you're fully dressed. So are pants even required right now? I don't know. Are you wearing pants right now, Bob?
Sweats.
Okay, right? I mean, right. When we're doing Zooms or other things where people can see us, we have to just dress from the waist up.
In my defense, it's a matching sweatsuit. It's like a Jordan sweatsuit, top and bottom, so it's not,
Of course, and matching sneakers for anybody who knows Bob, right? What I want people to understand is that it's normal now. For now, it's okay. You don't have to get up in the morning and get dressed for work if you don't need to. If you're the kind of person, though, that says, my mindset is triggered by putting on these clothes, then stop running around the house in sweatpants. If you've worked from home before and know how to do this, yeah, you can absolutely go to work in your sweatpants because you've probably done it for years that way, and you don't need the mental trigger. And the amazing thing, Bob, is that when this season ends, there are some things that'll never change. There are people that won't go back to their office because they don't have to, because they've learned how to work from home and say, wow, I really like that. There are people that will make changes in this new normal. First thing we want you to know, and Bob's done this, obviously, he's been doing this for a long time. I do this as well, and it's find a dedicated workspace in your house. Now, not everyone has the extra bedroom like I have that they can turn into the home office. And when I come into this office, the door closes. And when I leave this office, the door closes. I'm either at work or I'm not at work. Now, folks, when I'm not in my office, that doesn't mean I don't answer my phone, or I don't answer text messages, or I don't answer an email that might come across. Just like when I would go to the office and come home, you don't not still do some of those things. Yet I'm purposefully working, I'm in the office. And what so many people are doing, Bob, is they're working from their kitchen table. And the challenge with working from your kitchen table is it's the same thing again and again and again. You eat your breakfast there, your lunch there, your dinner there. You probably sit there with the kids and talk. You're now working from there. There's no dedication. Find a spot somewhere, whether you have that unfinished basement, whether you have that nook by the front entrance that's always just been decorative, whether you have an attic and you can move some things up there, not as an office, just to get them out of the house for a moment so you can create yourself a home space. Have a space when you go to it, it's where you work from. And when you're not sitting there, you're not at work. That way everybody in the household knows that that's my work space. And you know when you sit there, you're now dedicated to work. Not, I'm sitting on the sofa, kind of watching TV and kind of working. Do one, do the other. You've got to have a dedicated space. Now, Bob, do you have a full bedroom in your house? Do you have enough space that you've got a whole bedroom that's an office?
Well, so we have a basement where my wife and I have our office set up, and which is an interesting challenge for us because, she's working from home too. And so, and we, my wife has graciously allowed me to stay down kind of in my space. And so she's got a dedicated space upstairs where she's kind of taken over I don't know, I guess our dining room that we don't really use, right? We kind of eat at our
kitchen table or countertop, or
whatever it's called, the island. We eat at our island and stuff. But so she's her space, though, honestly, not quite as dedicated as mine, right? So she's probably more prone to distractions in that particular space. And so I'm thankful that she's kind of allowed me to stay in this space. I'm too loud for us to both kind of be in this office environment, but
and for couples like you, I would actually schedule shifts.
Yeah.
Because you're probably not, and one of the things a lot of people are probably realizing is they're not actually working all day. When you went to your job, you didn't actually work all day. You worked, you talked, you daydreamed, you whatever, that if you just condensed that and worked, you could probably be at work and then go home from work quicker. And then your wife could actually have her space and she could work stronger and better during the time that you weren't in there. So consider that, folks. We need to have that dedicated space because, as Bob already said, one of the big challenges are those distractions that come up.
And so
we want to make sure that we're eliminating those.
Get rid of them.
Yeah. Some of them put away. There are things around the house that are distractions that can go away right now. Toys, phones, other things that we can put away that are distractions, right? The things that, oh, I always need to rearrange that, or I kept meaning to fix that. No, put it away right now. Okay, and schedule time on your calendar for some of that stuff. The biggest
having worked from home for a long time, Chad. So like dishes, laundry, right? These are things that like I take my wife as an example. She can't let, like, if the buzzer goes off on the washing machine, that thing's got to be moved over to the dryer right away. That's just the way she's wired. Yep. But scheduling those things so that you're kind of the one determining when that thing, when you put the load in, so when it's going to come out, right? Or like, let me just schedule 15 minutes to do the dishes, because otherwise, when I looked over and saw those dishes, I was going to just stand up and walk over there and do them, right? So scheduling these things in that you're going to do anyway, so that they're not taking you away all throughout the day.
Correct. Eliminate the ones you can. Like, don't leave the dishes in the sink. Just get them done right away so you're eliminating them, and schedule the things like laundry, like house cleaning, like other things like that that are our distractions, so that we control when they happen and they're not happening during key times. Like if the laundry went off right now, Bob, you can't go and change it over to the dryer. This would not have been a good time to schedule laundry if that was one of your things you take care of in the house. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're preparing for them. We know they're coming. How many of them can we put on our calendar, though, to control when they're going to come, so we get to still be in charge?
One of the things that I've always done from a work perspective, because I know when I'm at home, it's really easy, is my food and my drink, right? So you talked earlier about your fluids. I've got my fluids right here. When I come down to work in the morning, I'll bring 2 granola bars down with me to make me, to tide me through till I've got my lunch and I know what time I'm going to go up and eat that. So even simple things like that, because otherwise I'd be down here and I'd be like, oh, I'm hungry. And then it's seemingly a small amount of time to just walk up there and grab the granola bar and come back down here. But then I gotta, if you've ever read Jay and Gary, The One Thing, then all the time it takes me to get reset and get back to the place I was and get my brain back into that space of what I was working on when it dawned on me that I was hungry. I could have eliminated all that just by bringing it down with me in the morning and reaching over. And at this point, I mindlessly just reach over and rip that granola bar open, right? So just even stuff like that, small things where you can just kind of set your environment and your space up to make sure that you can kind of commit to, and it's not, I've got a break in there, right? I've got, Ben has us taking a break every 2 hours, right? I'm going to take 15 minutes every 2 hours and I'm going to go, do a little jump rope in or stretch out or just go up and look at the sun because I work in the basement, right? Like, so, it's just, for me, it's a new normal. It's my same normal, right? But for a lot of you guys, it's going to be finding that new routine, that new normal.
And that refrigerator, Bob, you hit it perfectly. It's the biggest distraction we have. Because many people right now, you're one of 2 types of people. You're either the I eat when I'm stressed or I don't eat when I'm stressed. So either you keep using the refrigerator as an excuse and keep going to it and keep taking yourself away what you need to be doing because of that distraction. And if you can prepare, like Bob said, it's not just it takes me 3 steps to walk to the fridge. It takes me out of the work mode I'm in. Who knows who in the family then sees me going to the fridge and says, oh, can you grab me? And now all of a sudden it's 20 minutes before you're back to doing what you needed to do. So Bob, you hit on the head, the number one distraction that we have in the house already for us.
let's move over to lead generation in your business. And
Yep.
this is stuff, it doesn't matter what industry I'm in.
Nope.
Right? Like I'm coming in today and I need to realize like you said, this is not a snow day, right? So what activities can I really focus on, and what am I going to do there, Chad?
That's going to depend on you and what business you're in, right? And how do you do more of it? Restaurants might not be allowing you to come in and sit down, yet they're still making food and selling it for delivery or takeout. They have figured out what they have to do. Are they making as much money? No, not even close to as much money as they were making. Yet you don't have to stop your business, right? Sales are still happening. If you're seeing the commercials for car companies, what are they telling you right now? We will defer payments for 3 months. You don't even have to make a payment for the first 3 months. Come buy a new car from us, and here's the amazing deal we're offering. Why? Because we're giving you that chance to get your feet back under you. They're figuring out other ways to make business work. And you can be sure I have never seen FedEx, UPS, and USPS so busy, right? With all the deliveries, because companies like Amazon and all the other companies stepping up with online shopping, all you have to do is figure out, Bob, what are the activities you can do, and then double down on them. Because too many people are just saying, well, I can do everything the same, or no, I can't do anything. Not true. I mean, there are probably some industries out there, yes, you can't do anything right now. Yet overall, there's something you can do. I can't tell you what it is. It depends on the industry you're working in, yet you can do it and then say, I'm going to double down and really do the best at this that I can right now. To me, what's really important, Bob, is that every day we win the day, right? And I have something when I'm coaching people, I call it the win one. And what I ask my people to do is to figure out their priorities in what I consider are the 4 key areas of life. And that would be your love life, your relationships. That would be improving yourself as a person. That would be your fitness, that health and exercise. And that would be your economic world. And I ask people to figure out the things that matter. So, Bob, you have in your household 3 other people with you, correct?
Yeah, my wife and my 2 young children.
Okay. Do you know how your wife knows you love her? How do you show your wife that you love her every day in a way that she actually hears it?
Yeah, her love language is like I would plan something for her. I would plan something. I forget what the exact word is.
So acts of service is what you're doing for her?
Yeah, yep.
What I want you to do now is say, okay, I need to do something every day for that. And you're going to put it on your win one list. Okay, and then each of your boys probably have a different way to be loved by dad. Oh, one really wants you to read a book at bedtime, and one really loves when dad plays G.I. Joes with them or something.
Yep.
Okay, then I'm going to have you figure out what are those things to improve yourself every day. Well, do you read? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you write gratitudes? Do you journal, right? And you're going to figure out what those things are. And then I'm going to ask you, what are those health fitness things you're doing for yourself, for your health, right? So I'm drinking a gallon of water, I'm running X amount, or I'm working out X, or I'm this and I'm that. And then what are those things for economic? Well, I'm making X number of calls every day to people. I'm posting social media this many, whatever these things are for you. And these are your priorities. And just like we said earlier, your win one is not a daily thing. It's not every day I wake up and create it. It's every season I wake up and create it for the season. So what does that win one look like right now? Because it's different while you're on top of your family. It's different while your schedule is a little changed. It's different while work has had to change on some of the things you can do. You can't have the interaction in certain ways for that economic. You can't go to the gym if that's your thing in fitness. You have to figure out how to tweak these things. And the goal is at the end of every day, can you check everything off when you put your head on the pillow and go, yeah, I won today? Because Bob, if we can win every day, we're going to put our head down on that pillow feeling really good about what we did that day, what those priority things are in our world right now. And when the world changes again, we'll be able to figure out what our new priorities are, or which ones of those priorities tweak or change depending on the situation. And the goal each and every day is to win it when we lay down at the end of the day. Okay.
All right. So if we're winning each day, maybe we'll have a little bit of money, and then we'll have to figure out how do we spend that money.
Right. We don't. No, of course we do, yet we need to control our budget. And right now, we need more than ever, and one of the things I've coached a lot of the people I'm working with on, Bob, is every day to look at their bank statement. And the reason for it is there's too many auto deposits or auto withdrawals that we're not prepared for. We completely forgot that we signed up for whatever. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we stop the bleeding of those things that we don't need any longer while we're in this tighten the belt moment. Now, we don't know how long this lasts. We have heard from the leaders of our country, they want the economy up and going again. Many are saying they believe by the end of the year, the economy will be exactly back where it was, and it's going to just be a U. We're going to go down and come right back up from it. Who knows? We could end up having the economy completely collapse, and we could have the economy restored before the end of next month. We don't know, yet we need to figure out the three categories of our expenses right now. And we've got the red, the yellow, and the green, just like a light, right? Red, what can you get rid of? Okay, yellow, what could you maybe renegotiate? Or what could you maybe figure out could be cheaper, there's a better way. For example, the thing I look at right on here, the example I always give people is Hulu. Okay, Hulu, can you get rid of it? For many people, the answer is yes, because until Handmaid's Tale comes out with the next season, nobody's watching it. So it might be a red, and you can always sign back up, folks, when that comes out. Yellow, could you renegotiate or find cheaper or consider cutting? Yeah, here's the thing. Maybe you've got the commercial-free Hulu version right now. Maybe you could lower that cost. It'll add back in some commercials, yet you still have access to everything that Hulu is providing for you. Or is it green and you can't live without it because, oh my gosh, my show is on that and that's the only way I get to watch it. There's no way I can live without it. And if you could do that for every expense that you have in the house, have in your business and have in your personal life, you will be in a position, Bob, to be able to pull through when this ends as good a position as you can possibly be at that time.
So we've done this in our business. Ben's had each one of us go through our different business lines, and we've done this in our business. He's encouraged this, and my wife and I have done this in our personal lives. We actually, like, when we do it for our business, we pull out our P&L statement, and we just go down. We use highlighters, like a red highlighter, a yellow highlighter, and a green highlighter. And whoever's responsible for that business unit will go through and mark up their P&L, just like my wife and I would have done, right? And then we come back together, and you know, I was responsible for one of our business units, but our other business leaders come in, and then we sit down and we actually say, everybody kind of buys in, yep, red, yeah, we could definitely, and maybe somebody goes, no, we can, and we argue it out, right? Just like my wife and I, you know, had discussions around our personal finances. So this is an activity that we actually do. We do this in our business a couple times a year, but this, you know, you look at it through a different lens, right? In the last 2 weeks when we've done this, it's a different lens. And so now we're making harder decisions, and we're reconsidering things that maybe we thought were green that maybe could actually be yellows, and we can consider renegotiating. Like, you know, we've got a lot of stuff in our, yeah.
Right? Call the cable company right now and renegotiate. Who knows what promo they have to keep you right now that you could lower your rate by. I can tell you this, Bob, whenever I sign up for something like the cable company, the cell phones, anything like that, I put a note on my phone a week before it's going to expire, so that I call them a week before it expires, like Sirius radio, things like that. When I had that, I've canceled it. I don't need it right now. I'm not going anywhere. Why do I need to spend the money to listen to commercial-free radio in my car when I haven't been in my car for the last 2 weeks? Call these people, make notes of these people, get these numbers down, change that.
All right, Chad. So, I mean, the stuff we've talked about today, this is any industry, anybody, right? These are all things that we're all having to adjust to these, you know, these uncertain times. And really, we wanted to talk today about kind of some of the foundational things that we got to make sure that we keep in order so that we can, you know, move forward in these times and not just be paralyzed.
Yes. And we also want to make sure that we're now talking real estate specific stuff, because we know when Brivity is putting on a webinar, people are showing up going, this is going to be real estate focused. Yet here's the thing, folks, right now, I'm 100% in on the fact that real estate matters. Okay, we just saw here in the state of Washington that the governor just made real estate an essential service because people still need to buy and sell. There are some states that they're saying, nope, we're on the shelter in place and real estate no. And the association fought for it and said, hey, no, people are still buying and selling. We still need to be able to help people get their homes sold, which means we need to still show homes. We still need to do things. Do we need to do it differently? Yes, we need to do it differently because, Bob, it's a new normal right now. Yet we wanted to make sure we were talking about some things that could help you in your real estate business grow. Because my belief, this is just my belief, there is no scientific fact behind this at all, Bob. 25% of the real estate agents that went into this will not come out of this. 1 out of every 4 realtors that was a realtor when this began will not be a realtor when this is over. They will decide, I didn't renew my dues, or I'm not going to renew my dues, or it just isn't worth it. I need a job that's going to have a check, or whatever it is in the situation. There's going to be those realtors that just have 1-2 deals a year because family members do it. And I don't mean an offense in any way on this. That's just what they choose to do because they either have a spouse that has another income and this is just travel money and vacation money and Christmas money. So, okay, they'll make it because they don't care. You'll have the people who weren't doing what they need to do. And then this will be the opportunity for some people to surge ahead. Right? If we look back to the economic crash of 08-ish, depending where you lived, a lot of people got out of the business and a lot of people grew in the business to a level they've never given up. And that's what we want to talk about right now, giving you a few things that you can do to make sure you get where you're going. The first thing is you've got to create value for your sphere, Bob. That's the first thing. So how can we do that? Well, there's lots of ways to do it. How are you doing it, Bob?
Well, so the way that we're looking at this right now, like inside of Ben's business, look, I'm guilty of this. Like I'm checking my stock account every day and there's these crazy fluctuations. And one day it's way up and the next day it's way down. But I can go in there and look and see what it is, right? At least I know. And right now our sphere, our past clients, right? The people that are in our database that own their house, they want to know what's going on for what most of these people is their largest investment, right? And I can go to my stock account, I can pull it up and I can have that spot check any day and time of what that is. But the value of my home, people don't know right now what's happening and there's a lot of uncertainty. So we use market reports. We have all of our people set up on market reports. It's going to send them all of the active, pending, and then sold properties in the last 30 days right around their house so they can continue to see what is happening in this real estate market. Because short of us kind of doing that with them, they're forced to listen to the news and get these kind of national opinions, or God forbid they go to Zillow to check out and they become a lead for somebody, or they end up on Redfin's website. Or we don't want our clients trying to figure out what's going on in this time by going out somewhere other than to us. So for us, that's market reports. And what those market reports allow us to do is spot people in our database that may have some concern, because we know if they're going in and checking that market report, right, there's a reason for it, and it's going to be a great reason for us to reach out and talk to them. Look, we're not calling them up and being like, hey, I saw you on our market report. Do you want to sell your house today? It's hey, I'm calling you today because I know there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and people just aren't sure what's happening in the real estate market. And I did notice that you looked at your market report, and so I wondered if you were curious about what's happening around the equity in your home, right? So like, these conversations, they're not necessarily from a sales perspective. Chad, what is that saying? Like, people don't remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel.
Correct.
Right. And that idea that we could be reaching out right now as a calming force to the people that we're connected to, our sphere and our past clients, and just being that resource that they need so they can go check the value of the equity of their home or know what's going on in that real estate market local right around their house. We've never seen more traffic to our market reports across the entire Brivity network than we're seeing right now. Like, so if you're a Brivity client, you don't have market reports going out to your clients, like, that's your job tonight. Okay, if you're not a Brivity client, we'll give you some info at the end about how you could get a market report tool like that. That's something automated, that's sending your clients information based on your MLS IDX data, that's showing them actual activity that's happening around their homes, so that they realize, wait, other people are still listing their house. Wait, there are still homes selling around us, right? If we thought, man, you know, we were thinking about, you know, now being a time that we needed to downsize, they can see that there's still a market happening around them.
And that's not the only thing, right? Bob, you're absolutely right on it. We can create value for them in other ways as well, right? And could you do seminars right now? Absolutely. You could do a Zoom seminar. You could bring in your lender, and you could do a first-time home buyer seminar. You could do an investor seminar. Are the opportunities out there? Could you do open houses? Yes. Have I seen people doing open houses on Facebook Live? Yes. Have I seen people just going videoing open houses, putting them on YouTube, and then sharing them on Facebook? Yes. Or sending them out to their clientele or the people that are in their database? Yes. Could you finally get in front of video? Bob, I got to tell you, right now, the biggest thing you can do for your sphere is make them laugh. And here we go. Earlier this week, or late last week, I guess, I was challenged to a dance class that they're offering on Peloton now. Now, Bob, I'm not a dancer. I can do the white boy dance moves. Thank you, right? Now, I will tell you, Bob, once a week, I post something that I think brings value to people, that is intelligent, going to help you grow your life. And I will get 100 to 200 views on those. I posted a 5-minute video of my wife and I dancing where I looked like a complete and utter fool. We've gotten over thousands of views and hundreds of comments and private messages from people. I mean, folks, bring entertainment. If your dog is adorable and does something, then get it on video. If your cat's riding your Zumba, get it on video. If your kid is adorable and skipping rope, get it on video. Create value for your sphere. Can you send tips and tricks that you got off this conversation to your sphere? Yes. Can you put yourself in a position where you're just grabbing recipes and saying, here, it's a crock pot recipe. Start it in the morning. Don't worry about it. It'll be ready by dinner. Yes, this is the time where those recipe cards are actually useful. Stupidest mailer I've ever seen from real estate agents. Yet right now, people want to make something different because they're done with all their recipes. Create value for your sphere. There's so many ways to do it. The next is confirm, confirm, and confirm. Bob, if you went into this with something under contract, you need to talk or think about those people every single day. Maybe you don't want to call them every day because they're going to be like, shut up, nothing changed since yesterday. Shut up, nothing changed since yesterday. Shut up, nothing, right? They don't want to hear from you about it because it's not done, sold, you're not closed, whatever it is. You need to touch that transaction every single day and think, is there somebody I need to contact? Do I need to call the lender? Do I need to call the buyer? Do I need to call the seller? Do I need to call the agent? Whichever person it is in the organization that you're in, right? Whatever you want, I want you to realize you have to confirm, confirm, confirm. Here's the thing. There are a lot of people right now that were going to list when school ended. They're still going to list when school ends. We just don't know when that is yet, because school might officially be over already. They could, in theory, put their home on the market right now because the rest of the school year is going to be virtual, and who cares where they are. School might go back in some areas where it ends late of the year. School might not, we don't know. Yet those people still want to sell when it happens, and you need to confirm, confirm, confirm with these people. You need to have that pipeline report. Bob, we've done another webinar in the past on the pipeline report. You need to be checking that every day and saying, who do I need to add to this? Who is new? Who is now thinking about buying and selling? Who hates their house now that they've lived in it for 2 weeks with everybody and wants to move as soon as this is over? How do I put them on my pipeline report, and how do I confirm, confirm, and confirm with them? The next is that you got to just do it. There are so many things you haven't done in the past that you've been saying, well, I'm going to. Well, now's the time, right? Don't avoid it. I already said that 25, my opinion, no statistical fact, 25% of the people don't come out of this on the other side as realtors still. And the ones who make it, they're cheering. They're like, yes, good, less competition. That's right. The question is, are you doing whatever it is right now to make sure you're not in that 25%? Because if you're not, you're going to be one of those 25% who looks up and says, well, that wasn't worth it when it all ends. You're waiting. Stop waiting. This is the new normal. We don't know when it will end.
I mean,
now, one of the things,
like I think back to like when the internet came around and people were like, I'm not going to get into that, right? This is a fad. Like, we don't know, guys. This could be the next, this could be, I mean, this, in some ways,
open houses might never happen again, Bob. We might never do live open houses again. They might only be virtual open houses from now on.
Or it might be that the industry moves to that and it becomes this kind of like baseline that if you're not offering that to people, that they're going to pick somebody else who is, because the whole psyche of selling your house changes when people realize, wait, I don't have to have an open house and have 100 people walk through my home. My realtor could come through here and you know, do a virtual video of it, and people can watch that video and they'll still make offers on my house. Like, this could change the way that sellers think about the way they sell their house, right? If agents start to see that doing tours in this fashion still gets them interested buyer leads, I mean, this could be a shift that if you don't get on board with it, all of a sudden you look up and we're back to like the new normal or the old normal, and you're like, wait a minute, this isn't the old normal anymore.
That's right. When we moved, Bob, we moved across the country from Georgia back up here to Washington. We chose our realtor knowing they were tech savvy, because we would send them the houses we were interested in, and our realtor went and did video tours of those houses for us. Because you can only tell so much from the pictures, you don't see the flow of the house. And I can tell you, there was one house my wife loved until the realtor walked through it and then went, oh my God, those rooms are there and there and there. That makes no sense. That doesn't work for us, but the pictures look great. It's the new normal. And people are going to catch on, and we don't know what it's going to be. So you've got to just start doing whatever it is you think you should be doing right now to have the results. Okay. You also need, and this is one of the things you've talked about for years in your experiences, Bob, I've talked about for years, Ben has talked about for years, and people used to come to calls that any of the three of us would do because we said, we've got new scripts for you. You need new scripts right now. Some of the old scripts just don't work. Right? Some of them do, yet some of them don't. And you need to learn new scripts from people who are having success, and you need to role play them in practice. You need to get other agent friends of yours on the phone, on Zoom, on whatever, and one of you needs to be the agent and one of you needs to be the client. And you need to practice those scripts. Now, Bob, I'm a big believer in learning new scripts. I haven't gone on a listing in a while, yet I probably could still earn them, because I know my script so well still. The thing is, too many people, they attempt to learn their scripts by role playing their scripts. No. You got to learn your script first. You role play to practice. You don't go up to the plate to learn how to swing in a baseball game. You learn how to swing. You go up to the plate to now get better at it. You got to learn those scripts before you waste someone else's time to get on a call with you, a Zoom with you, and practice these scripts. Yet you need to learn what these scripts are, talking about how I can do a virtual open house, talking about for sale by owners right now. If you call them, you can be sure no one's showing up at their doors right now. That would probably be the market I would be shifting into right now. I would get out of my car, drive around, and find every for sale by owner I could, online or live, and I would be calling, because they're having no luck. You can be sure of it. Right? You got to learn the new scripts, and you've got to role play them with somebody. And the greatest script that's still out there, in my opinion, over all the years, doesn't matter, when in doubt, I always fall back to this script, is the feel, felt, found script. And if you do not know feel, felt, found, you should learn the feel, felt, found script. Bob, I understand exactly how you feel. I have had other clients that have felt the exact same way as you. And here is what they found. Right? I am identifying with you. Bob, I understand how you feel. I'm now making you feel like you're part of a group. Bob, I've had others who felt the same way. And now it's not anything I'm telling you, it's what they've all done. Bob, they found this. So I understand how you feel. You don't want to put your house on the market right now. I have other people that I've been working with who have felt the exact same way. What they found is through the virtual tours that I am creating right now, we are still getting offers on their properties with less people coming in the door because the buyers don't want to come in your door, yet they still want to buy your house. Doesn't that make sense? Learn, feel, felt, found, and learn other new scripts that are happening out there right now.
Feel, felt, found. Man, that's a good one, Chad.
Yeah. That was one of the first ones I ever learned 20 years ago, and it's always been my fallback. And then the last piece that I really want to talk about when it comes to real estate success and any success right now is tell your story. You have one. And if you don't have one, someone you work with has one, or someone you know really, really well has one. And their story now can become your story. Okay, I want you to understand that you have to tell your story. There are people buying and selling. I got a text this morning from one of my coaching clients who said, I had people who were renters. They decided in the market the way it is right now and the interest rates the way they are right now that they wanted to purchase. And we beat out 11 other offers last night and we went pending. It's like, okay, you better tell every renter you're talking to what these people did and tell your story. Because too often we think it's ego on us and we don't want to look like we're bragging. Yet if I'm not telling someone else's story, then I'm not proving to people what's happening out there.
Chad, and my mom, so my mom is a real estate agent in Olympia, Washington, and let me see. So we've been into this about 4 weeks. So it was maybe 3 weekends ago. She had put a listing, in that 300,000 to 400,000 range. In our market is kind of that first time. I mean, those things are still flying off the market. About 3 weeks ago, she put one on and it had 11 offers, and they had a 40,000 over list price like by Monday. The next weekend, similar property, only got 4 offers. And still, $20,000 over list price. So what she did is she went out to it was probably about 18 different like seller prospects that she had in her database, people that she'd been having conversations with, and they were going to wait for whatever reason, right? They're going to wait till the kids, or wait till the end of spring, or wait till the market picks up in the spring, whatever those reasons were for them. And she just told the story of what she personally had seen. And look, she said, listen, nobody has a crystal ball. These are really uncertain times and we don't know what's going on, but I want to show you what's happened just over the last 2 weeks here. 2 weeks ago I had this property and it was blah, blah, 340,000 and 11 offers, and she just laid the stats out for them. The next weekend, still buyers in the market. Things are picking up around here and starting to get shut down a little bit more, but still good. House still went on, still sold over list. That text, so she sent out as a text and an email to about 18 people. 4 of those people that day responded and said, Gail, just after looking at what you're telling us, and we think we want you to come out and talk about listing our house. So, I mean, that was her story, right? Just her little story from her little piece of the market shared with some people in her database that might have found that story relevant, and a number of them found it relevant. And they could just read what was happening, right? And like she said, I don't know. These are uncertain times. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing on the ground right now.
And that's all we can do. We have to tell our story. Too many of us aren't. Too many of us are sitting back and waiting. Too many of us are just waiting and waiting and waiting. Bob, we've got to tell our story, whatever it is. Someone here that's on the podcast, on the webinar right now, has closed on a house in the last week. Someone here has put something under. Actually, if you have closed a property or put something under contract or taken a new listing in the last week, I want you to type it into the question box. Like, tell me yes, listing or buyer or pending or closed or whatever. Tell me what you're doing right now, because I want you to understand that you're standing out, right? Lisa's got 2 buyers, right? Terry's saying she's got all 3 of those things has happened. Great. Are you telling your sphere? Are you telling your database? This isn't look what I did. This is look what's happening, right? And I've seen a lot of people still posting numbers, new listings taken, new pending contracts created, new closed contracts, and they're putting all these numbers down. And Bob, this is awesome. I mean, if you're scrolling through the questions, you could see a ton of people, right? I got closing, inspections. I got 2 just went into escrow. I just closed last week on one. These people that are here are doing. Now, folks, go out there and tell people. You see, because what Bob's going to do is he's going to count up all of these contracts And now we're going to say at the end of this that this percentage of people who came to this were doing contracts. If you would have shown up, look who you are. Right now, we can tell our story, just like you can tell your story. And you need to tell that story to your sphere, to social media, to the people in your neighborhood. And like Bob is saying, by using the market snapshot situation, they're being able to then stay up to date, and you're being able to see who's looking and who's interested. So Bob, if they want to find out how to get the podcast that we talked about, how to get some of the other things that you've got, how do they go about all that?
Right here, they can text any one of these words. So if you're curious about our Brivity CMA or market report tool, so it does both of those things. It can help you create market analysis for your clients, or it can just send them the market data and keep them updated on what's going on. You can text market report to 5. You're a Brivity client, you have that tool, right? If you're curious about just the entire Brivity platform, text platform to 59559. If you need leads for your world, right? If there's somebody that says, I'm going to double down on my business right now because I know that, like Ben Kinney says, everybody's at home making babies or looking for real estate online, and I want to add some of those people to my database, we can help you there. And then if you just want to go back and listen to some of the podcasts that Ben and Chad and I have done, I don't know how many episodes we have now, 18 episodes
21.
out there, 21 episodes out there.
Yesterday.
So there's some really, really good stuff in there just from mindset perspective, motivation, building a big business, leadership, becoming a better leader. You can text podcast to 59559 and we'll send you back a link to the podcast. Chad, I have to tell you, man, I mentioned before you and I jumped on this call that like yesterday was probably for me one of the harder days of kind of being in this, and my mindset was getting away from me a little bit. And thanks for coming and doing this with me, man. Just being here as a part of this group, like, it's got me. I'm feeling the energy coursing through my veins again. It's going to make the rest of my day awesome. I hope that you guys had a similar experience, but thanks for doing this, Chad.
My pleasure. Bob, if everybody's winning the day, living by a calendar, keeping their sanity, going on vacation, and they're getting through this time, getting that gym class, all that stuff on their 7 will be the lowest anybody should ever answer when you ask them at the beginning, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Because you'll be the people who are in the right mindset and making the most of all of this. So thanks for having me on today, Bob. And by the way, I think we're doing it again later today. Is that right? I got to come back and do this one?
We are. We'll be here at 2 o'clock for the group that likes their webinars in the afternoon. So I'll see you in a couple hours, Chad.
Any of you here who thought this was valuable and know somebody who didn't come to take it, let them know we're doing this again later. So if they want to come hear it, they should come join us 2 o'clock Pacific time later today, because we'll go over these numbers and this information for them one more time.
All right, we appreciate you, Zubin, Stacy, Sarah, Vanessa, Jill, Terry, Kevin, all you guys that are still on here, Stephanie, there's a whole bunch more of you guys. On behalf of Mikey and Samantha behind the scenes who make these things happen for us, he's Chad, he's amazing, I'm Bob, appreciate you guys. Everybody, wash your hands, we'll talk to you next time.